What if your experiences with dating in 2025 and beyond could actually be exponentially better if you just focused on refining a few things? This is not really applied to hookup culture. This is more so applied to people that are looking for long term relationships. Now, let me just make this very clear. I have nothing against hookup culture. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. You can do whatever you want to. Absolutely. People are just looking for fun, short term fun, and that's fine. Do you? You are an autonomous individual. You get to make that choice for yourself. Um, but diving right back into it, if you want to have more successful experiences in regards to dating in the future, right? This is not just applied to like now or 2025, like this is moving forward because this is based on how we are as individuals, right? I will say that one of the most important things is to focus on individuals that are emotionally healthier because there are individuals that are emotionally unhealthier, and these are the individuals that are less likely to have committed long-term sustainable relationships. That's just the reality of it, right? So the thing to focus on first and foremost is the intersubjective space between self and other, I, thou, the dynamic of each person, right? Um, and if you're focused on having more than one person in your relationship, you can do what you want to. It will still be the same method applied, right? That's just the reality of it. So, the way that this works is if you're trying to make somebody else be the center of your world, you're not going to have a successful relationship, right? Because that's going to get exhausting at some point. Don't get me wrong, some people are actually built for that, but the relationship is going to be rocky and turbulent. When I say built for that, though, I'm coming from a place of trauma. Like some people's trauma actually designed them to be the center of somebody else's world or for the other person to be the center of their world, right? Um, in healthy relationships, it's not about seeking the other person to complete you, it's about seeking them to complement you, right? And quite honestly, either way, you're good. So, first and foremost, in terms of your position, right, be focused on yourself and what it is that you're trying to build, right? Be focused on your journey, be focused on whatever dreams that it is you have that you're trying to build, and seek another person based on not only compatibility, but also how well they complement you. What is it that they bring to the table, right? And first and foremost, peace and nothing else, right? No chaos, no anything else, because all that stuff is just a distraction. It doesn't matter how physically attractive they are, it doesn't matter what kind of things that they tell you to get you to believe that they're supposed to be a part of your life. Read them, right? See it for what it is, first and foremost. Create space in your life so the person that you're looking for is not the center of your world, right? Don't have them be the only focus of your life. Quite honestly, that's not attractive. When somebody else is like the center of your universe and you become isolated with them, and that isolation brings you away from other things in your life that are actually important, it really fucks you up, and that is likely to lead to the ending, the fallout of any relationship. That's just the reality of it. Um, the next thing to focus on is in terms of the other person, right? Self, other, I, thou, the intersubjective space and everything, right? The more space you can create for the other person to just be themselves, right? Literally loving them for who they are, the more success over the long term you're going to find in the relationship. And I'm going to break this down in terms of how children are actually raised in a healthy way, because not all children are raised in a healthy way, and that's just the reality of it, right? In terms of somebody's identity and their ego state to develop in a healthy way, they are given the space of healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation by their parents, right? I'm not saying that it's your place to parent your partner. It's not, right? I would not recommend that. Um, what I'm saying is that it is your place in a healthy relationship to create space so that your partner or the person that you're dating to become your partner can just be themselves, right? You're not loving them for who they can be, you're loving them for who they are. And believe me when I say it, I've experienced relationships where even I've love the person for who they can be rather than who they are. It's a shit show of a dynamic. It doesn't work out. I mean, listen, I'm not going to say that it doesn't work out. There are instances out there where relationships sometimes do work out. Cool. You do you. Whatever it is that you want to do, right? What I am saying is that the healthiest way to approach a relationship is when you have the space for yourself to be yourself, and that's not jeopardized by anything or anybody, right? And you have healthy boundaries in place so that it really works out moving forward. And you also create that healthy space for the other person. You could actually consider it like a healthy childhood, right? A healthy childhood consists of healthy boundaries where the ego state is given the space to develop in a healthy way where identity is actually static, right? Individuation and differentiation. When you give a person space to be themselves, they fucking flourish and blossom into a beautiful fucking lotus, right? That's just the way that it is, right? When you're not controlling, when you're not trying to do all these different things, healthy relationships don't require you to like sacrifice absurdly important things about yourself to be in a fucking relationship. No, that's control. That's rooted in all of these dynamics from childhood that children that were exceedingly fucked up learned, and they basically carried that out into their relationships later on in life, right? So let me just make this very clear. First and foremost important thing to focus on is the space that you've created for yourself and the space that you've allowed for the other person, right? And I'm going to call this the intersubjective space between self and other, between I and thou, right? Um, you want to allow them to be themselves, right? Control is a real thing. Pressure is a real thing. Manipulation is a real thing. When any of that stuff is created in relationships, people are likely to run. They are likely to ghost, right? Um, the next thing to consider is that any plans that are made in a short period of time, big plans. I'm not talking about like dates and stuff. I'm talking about big plans like, oh yeah, let's, meet each other's family, this, that, and the other. When you're ready to get married, this, that, and the other. Slow the fuck down. Like real hardcore. Slow down, right? Take your time because the beginning, right, the honeymoon phase, that's the time to become aware of any potential red flags. And with unhealthy individuals, there are absolutely going to be red flags. If you don't spot them early on, you'll get fucked by them later on. That's the reality of it, right? Um, so slow way the hell down. If you're used to fast dynamics in relationships, you're used to all or nothing. You give everything up front. Maybe they give everything up front, and then all of a sudden it's nothing, and then that's when ghosting happens, right? One of the most important things to focus on, though, is recognizing that this person does not all of a sudden take up your entire fucking world. You don't. Healthy relationships are not about losing yourself. Healthy relationships are not about all of a sudden this person that has come into your life that is now completing you. No, no. Healthy relationships are about complementing each other. Healthy relationships do not require you to change things about yourself, right? If you don't like the person, go find somebody else. You don't need to waste each other's time. That's just the reality of it, right? So, um, the next thing to consider is what is it that you're looking to create with that person? Become aware of that, right? And consciously communicate it. Be upfront about it, you know? But over the course, like, really get a good understanding of the dynamic between you two, right? Now, let me say this because this is very important to understand, right? A lot of people are very comfortable with dynamics of control. They're very comfortable with being controlled and they're very comfortable with controlling, right? These dynamics are not healthy, they're not sustainable, and they're likely to not last long. Again, I won't cut all of the potentials out of there as just, not workable. There are some instances where people make it work, right? Um, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. In a world of 8 billion plus people, it most definitely does exist, but I can tell you right now, it's probably not a healthy dynamic, and it probably looks like a war zone between the two individuals or more. Um, Becoming attractive when it comes to dating is more so about being focused on yourself. People may have told you that it's a selfish thing to focus on yourself. I don't care. I'd rather focus on myself. I would rather know who I am, know what it is that I want, and become attractive based on that, and actually attract an individual who can support my journey, right? I don't need them to do a bunch of things for me. You know, they accept who I am, I accept who they are, right? And with that, it creates a beautiful dynamic moving forward. I need to make this very clear that it's absolutely crucial to create the space in the relationship where you can be yourself, right? It's a matter of healthy boundaries, right? The healthy boundary is that you can be yourself and the other person can be themselves. That's how it works. It's really not rocket science. The thing is that a lot of people are actually very uncomfortable with that because they were raised in dynamics that resulted in like anxious attachment styles where they believe that they need to control a bunch of things in the other person to feel safe. But the reality of it is that you should first heal that. Not only that, but then if you let go and you create space in the relationship, like honestly, like so many people are in relationships where they're like they can't breathe, right? You let go and you're like, I feel so much better, right? Because you're allowed to be yourself. The other person's allowed to be themselves. You don't have to spend all of your fucking waking moment together. You can have your time to yourself. The other person can have their time to themselves. And I understand that a lot of people are like, well, what about trust, Chris? If you don't trust people, you need to work through that. And I'm not trying to give you unsolicited advice. I'm just saying that I understand people have trust issues. And by the way, choosing somebody that further reinforces your trust issues is not a healthy individual. It might feel comfortable and familiar, and you might feel like it's your job to try to change them into somebody that you can trust. You're going to waste your fucking time. That's just the reality of it, right? Um, Dating in the future is more so about healing the shackles, the chains of the past, of a lot of traditional dynamics that a lot of parents pass down to their children of control, of pressure, of expectation. That shit ain't cool today. I'm just gonna say it for what it is. I don't even know how the fuck it worked back then. I can imagine that a lot of whiskey and all that shit, bourbon was involved. A lot of numbing out of emotions, of frustration, of all that stuff. A lot of shit was just brushed under the carpet. That even wasn't that wasn't cool back then. I'm gonna say it for what it is, and it's definitely fucking not cool today. Um, Healthy dynamics where individuals are respected, they're given the space that they need to be themselves, right? Healthy boundaries, individuation, differentiation, autonomy, which is a result of all three of those things, is fucking cool in 2024, 2025, beyond. That's just the way that it is. You will find yourself having more successful relationships, cons- uh, consistently sustainable over the long term if you deploy these things, right? Create space within yourself, be focused on your dreams. Don't even be looking for, I mean, you can if you want to. The most attractive thing is when it just happens because you're not looking for it. You're focused on yourself, and the person that comes into your life sees, wow, this person's focused on themselves. This is really attractive. This is a really attractive dynamic. Okay, they're doing all these really fucking cool things. I can support them. I want to support them. And when I say support, I don't really just mean like financially. I mean, this might even have less to do with financially and more to do with just like in awe and like, wow, like I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to keep pushing on your dreams, to keep pursuing the things that you actually want to do. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to support. The timeless, most beautiful, energetic dynamic of support is the emotional support, right? Money is money. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it can be helpful. But the most beautiful support is when somebody actually sees you and they're like, damn, that fucking person's on fire. And I want to continue to support them. I want to encourage them, this, that, and the other. Be focused on yourself and allow the other person to be focused on themselves. Whatever it is that happens when you come together is a complement of the relationship. It's not a matter of completion. You're not there to complete the other person. The other person's not there to complete you. You don't need to be checking your phone every single fucking hour. You don't need to be worried about what they're doing and everything. If that's the case, that's not a healthy relationship, and I highly don't recommend it because it won't bring any healthy outcomes or dynamics between you two, right? If you're looking for a long term sustainable relationship in 2024, 2025, and beyond, the key to this is to be focused on yourself, to create that space for yourself to be yourself. And if you don't know who you are, spend a lot of fucking time by yourself, right? Don't even look out there for anybody to compliment you. Just be focused on yourself. And the more you do that, the more attractive you'll become. The most attractive people out there are the ones that aren't even trying to be attractive because they're just focused on what it is that they're passionate about, right? But it's also because they've created space with themselves to be themselves and to do what it is that they want to. And they have absolutely no problem with creating that healthy boundary in the relationship where they recognize that it's entirely the other person's own autonomy to have space to themselves and to do what they want to do. Dope, cool, healthy relationships are not about control. They're about autonomy, individual autonomy, space, allowing people to be themselves. That's what it's about. And that is what transforms everything.